we've been talking about the NHL referee who was fired for after admitting he purposely called a lame penalty in the Predators-Red Wings game. Tim Peel was fired after he was caught on a hot mic admitting he purposely called a lame penalty. Here, let me just play this first.
12:42 to go in the second.
It wasn't much, but I wanted to get a penalty against Nashville early.
So he admitted there he wanted to get a penalty against Nashville early. I wanted to get an expert's opinion on this because I believe that this stuff happens all the time in all sports, not just hockey, makeup calls to influence the game, stuff like that. For one reason or another, maybe pressure from the organization, pressure from other outside sources. So I got an expert on the phone. Marc Riley was an NHL ref for a short time. He was a ref in some of the minor leagues too. He is also a comedian in the Boston area and has been for years and years. And surprisingly and shockingly, they let him also teach children, which is crazy. But Marc Riley, thank you for coming on the morning show on the Pike here. And but first, let people know why you're qualified to comment on this, because you were an NHL ref, right?
Yeah, and first off, Mike, congrats on the show. I think
thanks,
it's awesome.
Thanks.
You rock. And yeah, so I worked the East Coast League, which is a minor pro league, for about 5 years. And got hired by the NHL, fired a week later.
What? Okay, you got to tell us what happened there. Like, if you can give us the condensed version, why you only lasted a week.
Well, their reasonings were ridiculous. The real reason, I think, is because I'm American, and they had hired enough of us.
Okay.
It's all about Canada, but I don't want to get any Canadians, mad at me. God knows they have such a strong military force up there.
Okay.
A bunch of guys in red jackets on horses. We don't want them after us. But so I worked, Division I college and Division III college and a bunch of juniors and stuff, and supervised locally for different leagues. So yeah, I've been doing it for a long, long time. And stuff, you know what? Makeup calls do happen no matter what the sport is. A good ref will call what's there. They won't make anything up in the sense of, trying to find a penalty that's not there.
Mm-hmm.
But you know what? I had a game last week where the college coach told me the game's going to get out of hand if I don't start calling penalties. And so the third period, I called 8 penalties in a row on his team and did what he told me. But they were all there. They were all there. Now, while I'm calling all those penalties, yeah, I'm looking for one on the other team if it's there, but I'm not going to, just create a penalty just to call a penalty. But, we mess up. And, yeah, we call some weak penalties here and there. We might miss something. It happens. And what Tim Peel did was something that happens all the time, especially in the NHL. And he just happened to get caught on a hot mic, and what he said, completely out of context. There's game management that you do, right? And there was a game before where some stuff happened that no one took into consideration, especially between those two particular teams. So there's a lot more to it than just this one call and him making this one comment. And, everyone's a referee expert. When something like this happens, everyone calls in and writes stuff on Facebook. And, I had to stop reading. I got too upset.
Wow. So you're kind of like siding with you're saying Tim Peel had a reason, because it sounds like he made up this call, but you're saying he had a reason to do that? Is that what you're saying?
There's reasons. Sometimes if two teams played and it was a war the night before or a couple nights before, you might want to grab a penalty right away so that you kind of set the tone for the game. And it might not be the perfect penalty, but, he had a reason for wanting to grab a penalty in Nashville. It wasn't that, everyone's starting to say, oh, he had money on the game. Oh, he was this or that. They have no idea what goes into the decisions that, referees make in a split second. So, what he did wasn't egregious and definitely wasn't to the point where the NHL should fire him. I mean, I honestly think they're fraudulent in firing him when other referees over the course of, the past few years have made huge mistakes that have cost teams games, and they weren't fired. 2017 Nashville, Pittsburgh Stanley Cup Finals, Game 6. Nashville scores a goal, but because the referee, Kevin Pollock, is out of position, he doesn't see the puck laying in the crease, so he blows his whistle. And that completely changed the course of that game.
Well,
he's still working.
Well, don't you think what Peel did would have done the same thing? Like I was reading Matt Duchene from the Predators. He was on ESPN. He was saying, imagine the scenario. It could happen that, we lose the game, we miss the playoffs by a point. That alters something pretty heavily. So don't you think that, by him doing that could have been, completely unfair in that sense?
Well, it could be, but it's not, it's one power play. So, Nashville has to kill a penalty. And so we're not talking about a goal call back or a goal missed like that one in 2017. You're talking about a penalty that, there's marginal penalties that are called all the time. Not every penalty is worthy of a call. And it might just be that they don't see it right, or, our human nature factors in. I gave a stick violation penalty way back in the day in Birmingham because the coach of Birmingham was a complete jerk and had been to me all season.
But the penalty was there, though. The penalty was there. You didn't just make it up.
Yes.
Okay, all right.
No, I didn't make it up, but the stick gauge was broken, and I should have got a new stick gauge, but I didn't because I said, you know what, put him in the box, and he deserves it anyway. So I ended up getting fined for it. For using a broken stick gauge, but we're human. But
right.
The fact that he made one penalty call in a season, one penalty call is not going to make or break a team. I mean, Duchene's got to relax. He and everyone's jumping on this bandwagon. Look at the game Bruins Capitals a few weeks ago when Wilson hits Brendan Carlo in the corner, complete headshot. And the two referees, Dean Morton and Jean Hebert, they don't even think it's a penalty. And the league turns around and suspends Wilson for 5 games. And like anyone watching that, it was a penalty. It was all day of head contact that should have been 5 in a game. They weren't fired. They were working the next night. And that's egregious to me, allowing someone to throw a dangerous hit that took Carlo out. He might be out the rest of the season.
Yeah.
And, so they're fraudulent in the sense that this got caught on a mic, and because it became a thing, they didn't back their guy. They cut him loose. He's going to retire. He was going to retire at the end of this year.
Yeah, he's not a noob.
Like
he's a veteran. He's not a new guy.
Dirty.
Yeah.
No, it's dirty, and the league could have said, hey, listen, it was taken out of context, and it was a marginal penalty, but he made a decision on the ice. And, it's unfortunate that this got out, but this is something that happens in every sport. They could have left it at that, and, we wouldn't be talking about this.
Yeah.
Because this happens all the time. Bad penalties happen all the time, especially in hockey. So I think it's just been way blown out of proportion. And, I know there's guys out there and girls out there that referee that may disagree with me, and that's fine. But, anyone that thinks a guy should be fired for a marginal penalty call, they really don't know what they're talking about. I'm sorry. We've all made a bad call here and there. So,
all right. Well, Mark, I appreciate you coming on, giving your take on that. It's Marc Riley, former NHL referee for 1 week, but also ECHL referee, ECHL like our Worcester Railers here, and still a hockey referee. And he's also a comedian. If you ever see Marc Riley, whenever we can get out and go to a comedy club again, make sure you check him out. Mark, thank you very much for your time this morning. I really appreciate it, man.
Mike, no worries. And, yeah, if you come see a show, I'll do plenty of hockey material, especially about referees.
Nice. All right, that's Marc Riley here on the podcast.
100.